How's it going, everybody? I'm B-Sun, resident PA DJ player, and this is going to be a very simple starter kit for DJ, my character. And if you know me from Tekken, I used to play Tekken. I'm a Yoshimitsu player, and this is going to be built off of that series and that vibe of what I call what I know. Okay. So, starting off, DJ is a very fun character. So if you're playing DJ and you like to have fun, perfect choice. Absolutely perfect choice. Even though I don't think in this current state of the meta that he's very strong or the strongest, and I am a competitor, so that doesn't matter. He's just too much fun for me to put down. So if you like fun characters, if you like being rewarded for specialty knowledge, so he has some basic tools that we need to keep in mind, and we'll probably start off with anti-airs just because we all need to know how to anti-air when we're starting off. So this is probably one of the hardest parts of DJ because this is skipping ahead a little bit. You can't really play DJ in a way where you always have charge. Not that you can play Guile like that either, but at least Guile can kind of create situations where he more consistently has charge. For DJ, he's a charge character, and his most consistent anti-air, and even then, it's not very consistent, is heavy up kicks. And you need 40 frames of charge to be able to heavy up kicks. And this is a little faster by about 5 frames than most, let's say like Guile's flash kick. I think you need 45 frames to be able to flash kick. So he can be a little faster in that regard. See? Well, actually that first try. If you look over to the left side here, 40 frames, perfect. Anyway, so if you can, and whenever you can, heavy up kicks. It has the bonus of having very, very far range as well. It used to have more range, but a recent nerf, you know, kind of messed us up there. But can have even more range if the opponent jumped and pressed the button, which often they do. And that just extends their hurt box a little bit. So you can even clip people from that far. Right? So something you want to keep in mind. Some bonus tips for heavy up kick. There's lots of situations where you can be already maintaining charge, or like have ways to sneak in charge. So if you're not used to charge characters, look for those. I'm gonna make a separate video kind of going into, or separate videos going into like individual tools that DJ has that are also, you know, like a little more in depth, you know, tips and tricks, blah, 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 blah. But this is just gonna be like basic starter stuff. So number 1 and numero uno, heavy up kicks. You have back heavy kick, which is great, which is good but not great as an anti-air. And this is what you want to use when you don't have charge, primarily, just because it's the most straightforward. It has the nice input of being back and heavy kick. So let's say you're walking backwards and they jump at you, you can just press heavy kick and you're already there. The issue though is, if you look here, it says 7 frames startup. This is not a 7-frame anti-air. I fucking wish. This anti-air is 9-frame startup in actuality. Because the first 2 frames only hit standing opponents. Right? That little like top part. The first 2 frames is like just the knee itself. So the frame that this actually anti-airs on is frame 9. Okay? And it's a pretty thin hitbox as well. Right? Like literally will not even hit if they don't press a button, if you're not close enough. Right? So that's something to keep in mind. And it's a little finicky as well. Although it does have the added bonus of being able to cancel off of it on hit into pressure. You know? And again, we'll go into those details in another video. So the almost last, because there's like a secret fourth-ish anti-air that DJ has, is Slide. So Slide has the most range out of DJ's anti-airs. What up, Daniel? How's it going? And mostly because it has so many active frames and it kind of travels forward as he does it. But it is also, by a significant margin, the slowest. Yeah? So if I can show this for you guys. Right? Whipping here at this point. Yeah, there we go. So just a little more range compared to heavy up kicks. And this is nice when you're at around this range and you try to walk back and they jump at you kind of like outside of range of your back heavy kick. Because this will, you know, fill that space. Especially if you're up against someone who does like empty jumps and stuff, right? So if they do it from here, not gonna hit anytime soon, you know. But that will. Cool? So, those are your main anti-airs. Heavy up kick, back heavy kick, and slide, or crouching heavy kick. The kind of secret-ish one that's totally unnecessary sometimes, but can be useful in select situations, is heavy punch. It's a 9-frame move, and the first 2 frames are like kind of close to his body, so that part isn't useful. But the last several active frames after the first 2 are kind of extended in front of him as he has his fist out. So this can also be helpful just to clip people, and can also be very useful in specific matchups as well. Mostly because against like characters who have jump buttons that don't have disjointed hitboxes, like against Cammy, for example. What up, Reen? Welcome back. But anyway, you're not going to use that one too much. I would recommend, you know, the first 3 that we already went over. Besides that, he also has an air-to-air target combo, which is pretty good. It's a little thin for a hurt box or hitbox. It's just jump, medium punch, heavy punch. And sometimes you can get like combos off it. But that's highly specific, you know. Don't think about that for now. This is just good for certain awkward ranges where you're too close to slide, too close to back heavy kick, and sometimes your heavy up kick will like go over in a different direction or whatever, or you're not comfortable with cross-cutting your heavy up kicks, which is very useful. In which case you want the target combo, right? That's it for anti-airs. So again, heavy up kicks, back heavy kick, crouching heavy kick, and jumping target combo. Medium punch, heavy punch. And occasionally heavy punch if you want to experiment with that. His main pokes are pretty straightforward. The only thing you have to keep in mind is the thing that I'm sure most people coming into this video already know in terms of like weaknesses, because this is what everyone talks about when it comes to DJ weaknesses in general, which is that he does not have long-range special cancelable pokes, right? His longest range special cancelable poke is his light kick, right? His crouching medium punch is close in terms of range, and sometimes it changes depending on like the situation, like the hit animation and whatnot. Yeah, but see, this whiffs, that does not. And this is the one that he can special cancel. So the reason why this is an issue is because the big red button, DI, or orange, I guess. So when you're walking around poking with DJ, it can be quite risky if your character is, or your opponent is a little DI happy. So in which cases I would encourage you to just wait a bit. But his best pokes in general are medium kick. I think this is probably his best poke. It does not have as much reward as other characters, like, you know, this far range-ish poke. But it's 9 frames. It goes really fucking far. Up close, you know, you get conversions and stuff. Because it's +6 on hit. Although often you're not at that range. But the big point is that it recovers very fast for how far it is. Right? 16 frames is nothing to scoff at. As well as on block being -1. So you can do stuff like this. Like little spacing traps. You can even just do 2 back-to-back. It'll catch a lot of people. And it's very annoying. It's super annoying to play against. Although it's something that you'll feel more comfortable with as you get more comfortable with the character in general, because this doesn't matter as much if your opponent is just like flying through the air, right? Which is why we went over anti-airs first. So, best poke, medium kick, and from there it kind of changes depending on the situation. Heavy kick is really good, 12 frames, super far range, and if you look at the drive gauge, this is great at damaging drive gauge. Right, so if your opponent's like close to burnout, you can hit him with that. But of course, risky because it's a heavy and takes 40 frames total to get off that whip recovery animation. So be wary of that. Next in line, medium Sobot, the move that everybody hates to play against in neutral. Because it's 12 frames and it goes ridiculously far. It goes even farther than your heavy kick. And if you get this, you can often get pressure afterwards with drive rush or dash drive rush, blah, blah, blah. And the way you would want to think about medium Sobot for DJ is you kind of want to use it like a heavy fireball as like a Shoto character would. Because if you're playing Ryu, right? Like when you're playing in neutral and you do like a light fireball, you don't often want to poke with a slow fireball, right? Like at this range. You want to hit them as fast as you can. So you pick the fastest one. But this has the weakness of like, if it's blocked, you know, your turn's over as Ryu, right? And it's also, you know, very slow to recover relative to the light fireball. And so in that case, it's also weak to the same things. DI, jump-ins, and just kind of getting poked out by something faster, right? But notice it's also 12 frames. Also 12 frames, right? And in the relative range of when you would want to use a heavy fireball as a Shoto character, right? Because if you're kind of at this range, you don't really want to throw a heavy fireball because they're going to react to it anyway. So in that case, you're normally using something like light fireball. But yeah, you get the general idea. The fireball war is a whole different art in and of itself, so we won't spend too much time on it. So back to the pokes. Crouching heavy punch, excellent. Very consistently, at some ranges, it'll drop, but you can very often convert this into heavy up kicks. There was a range nerf on heavy up kicks for DJ in one of the recent-ish patches, not too long ago, but they nerfed it only on its range only on the first hit. So if it's a part of a combo, it maintains its old range, right? So where this maybe, let's see, like right here. Okay, so this is hitting, you can tell this is hitting on like the second active frame. Second or third active frame. This isn't a great example actually because they moved back when you get hit by that. But anyway, just take my word for it. Heavy up kicks, when it's part of a combo, still maintains its own range. Its old range. I just can't think of a good example to show it right now. But another reason why crouching heavy punch is good is it's -2 on block. So even though it is a heavy and often leads to a hit confirmable follow-up, you're not often, in a position where you have to completely block whatever it is that they're doing or being punished for using it. Although, of course, again, weight to DI. And as well as, like, on pushback, like at tip range, because it's -2 and it has pushback on block, this is often a neutral-ish situation, right? Because there's nothing that outright puts you at disadvantage. Crouching medium kick, also phenomenal. So the reason why this is good is because it has relatively long range. It's actually farther range than your crouching heavy punch. Right? But just by a little bit. Although it is worse on block, -6. But again, pushback, blah, blah, blah. It has a disjointed hurt box, so this is kind of good at, like, contesting low moves in neutral. And it's one of those rare cases where it's like a relatively safe sweep move, although your opponent can back tech. That's pretty much all it is. It's just a crouching button that goes pretty far, can stop people from walking back. And even though it's simple, it's very important because as DJ, you'll find that a lot of people will walk back on you because you don't have a low forward drive rush. So people are less inclined to, like, stay still. And the way that you do that is with this, right? Okay, last one in terms of normals, forward medium kick. Now this is kind of a poke, kind of a pressure tool. It has probably the most range. Maybe a little less than medium Sobot. No, a little more than medium Sobot. It has conversions on hit, which is nice. And is also plus on block. It can be +2 on block if they're crouching. But it is phenomenally slow. It says 19 frame startup. It's actually 22 frame startups because the first 2 active frames, as you can tell, don't connect if you look at the frame bar. Because the first 2 active frames hit jumpers. Which, it can be kind of nice to, like, have that random option select or option coverage when you're doing it and your opponent jumps and you bring them back down to earth. And while this is a great tool situationally, it is very slow. You very often will get counter hit for doing it. So I do not recommend messing with this too much unless you know for sure your opponent is doing nothing but standing there. But small little side note is that this is super cancelable as well as hit confirmable, even though it's a little hard. So that's for other stuff down the road. So again, in sort of best to worst order, pokes for DJ. Medium kick. This is going to take some getting used to, but once you come around, you'll be singing the praises as well. Medium kick, best poke. Then coming up next, I would say medium Sobot and heavy kick are kind of tied. And then crouching medium kick and crouching heavy punch are also kind of tied for me. And then special shout out for forward medium kick. And a little tiny honorary mention for standing light kick. It's pretty decent and pretty far range. Has excellent pushback. So you can use this to set up a few, like, spacing traps and stuff like that. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're playing this close to somebody, light kick is a decent option. Although because of DJ's slow movement speed overall, you often find yourself not really, like, doing the same thing like a Shoto would, right? Because they move much farther forward as well as have farther range on their light kick, you kind of don't play that game as much. So, pokes aside, basic pressure stuff. So we all know DJ is known for the color green. because of this thing. Drive rush jab. And if you aren't doing it already, I would encourage you to try this. So there's an inefficient way of doing drive rush, raw drive rush that is, which is hold parry first and then drive rush, like the forward input. Because if you look at the drive bar, you end up spending more than a single bar. And it's also slower, of course, and also more telling because you see the blue. And there's another way, there's two other ways of doing it besides, you know, parry then forward. You can do forward parry, which will get you the, you know, the full bar usage rather than a bar plus tax. And it's also relatively the fastest. But you can also mess this up quite consistently, I found. So I don't do this anymore. What I do instead is somewhere in between the two. I do forward parry forward is the input. And it's kind of like a quick 1, 2, 3. And you get the same result, but it's a much more consistent result for me, right? Like I very rarely, if ever, drop this. And the way you think about it is you just press parry like a little bit before the second forward input. And if you do it correctly, you'll still get all the benefits. So, and it's just as fast. Now, effective range for DJ is kind of like around here because you can sort of threaten medium kick at tip range, you know, sobot, heavy kick, blah, blah, blah. Walk in and out of range. As well as, you know, do the pressure thing of drive rush jab. This is very good, very solid, because it gets you +3 in their face if you end up spacing it correctly. You get a strike throw. Cool? Or you can do like, you know, some lights as a way of tripping them up, or, you know, drive rush jab, shimmy, blah, blah, blah. Another decent mention at a drive rush is drive rush crouch jab, because it just has a little more further range. So like round start range, this whiffs, that does not. Yeah, so just keep that in mind. And often if they block drive rush crouch light punch, you're almost always in range to check them with crouching heavy. Or you can do medium kick if you want. Or, of course, crouching medium kick. What up, Naz? How's it going? Now, the third decent option to rep out of drive rush for pressure is medium punch. It's just the most plus. It has probably the most range as well. The only issue is that it has more pushback. So even though this can connect from round start range, you're not in range to throw. Like, you'll have to walk forward. And they can walk back out of that situation. But you're still plus. You know, you can still do stuff like this, walk forward into lows, or wait low. Or if they are genuinely standing still, like, just walk forward and throw them. Alternatively, it's very good to bully drive gauge, because standing medium punch itself is +2, plus add 4 frames to that, you end up being +6. So the medium punch itself is, after this, is a guaranteed block string, right? And you can even, you know, get spicier later if your opponent is really respecting you. You know, situations like that. But more often than not, they're going to end up parrying. So, you know, look out for that, because you don't want to give them more drive gauge than you're taking away from them. But yeah, those are your basic drive rush tools for pressure, right? Stand here-ish range, right? Especially for drive rush medium punch as well, because at this range you are, in fact, in range to throw. And jab, super fast, hard to react to. Drive rush, crouch jab, and drive rush medium punch. Honorary mention to drive rush crouching medium kick and drive rush medium kick, because those go mad far, and a lot of times people are walking around freely at this range, and that can clip them, right? And it's a low. And that's also +3 because it's only -1 on block normally. Yeah? So keep that kind of stuff in mind. Yeah, drive rush medium kick is pretty good. And I don't think I'm missing anything for pressure. So yeah, so again, forward medium kick. It's a plus on block button. There's your pressure. The nice thing about forward medium kick, jokes aside, is that it does have very small amount of pushback. So often, if you do land it at certain ranges, you're pretty close to do something like a micro walk and a throw or something. But again, still very slow. And medium clutch, just in general, like up close, if you have some kind of conversion or you get some kind of knockdown, right? Like you're still plus here, right? So they can't just swing after this for free. Oh, and DJ's tick throw is pretty good because his jab leaves you pretty close. If you're as close as possible and you do a jab into throw, you'll be in range. Yeah. As opposed to doing like a crouching light punch, you're out of range. So if you're doing some kind of throw loop in the corner and you want to do a tick throw, you'll be in range without having to walk for it, which is nice to remember. So that pretty much does it for beginner pressure. His jump buttons are pretty straightforward. Your cross-up button is jump medium kick, although I will warn everybody out there that DJ's jump medium kick is among one of the worst cross-up buttons to ever freaking exist. It's very common for you to do a jump cross-up button and for literally anybody to just straight walk under it and not get clipped. So not something you want to look out for. Jump heavy punch and jump heavy kick are both decent. Jump heavy punch a little preferred just because it's a little more straightforward. You press it, it goes down, and it hits down pretty low. Heavy kick is a little weird because it's slower, and its first active frames are kind of in line with DJ rather than below him. So if you want this to hit as early as possible, you kind of have to time it specially. So like when the heel comes down, you know, which can cause it to whiff sometimes. Heavy punch is just a little more straightforward, although it does have worse range. So I say, maybe not. Yeah, there you go. But anyway, I want to double back to mention one good thing about DJ jump medium kick is that it goes far. It goes mad far, like super duper far. Like, it's very unexpected how far this thing goes. And it also has a conversion even from far away. Although that's a little specialized knowledge, it's possible. And if you wanted to keep it simple, you could literally just do this and this. Or like this and a heavy kick or something, right? You do a lot. Special jump button, he has knee shot, which is just jump forward, down light kick. It's a weird button, and it's not as good as it used to be, because now if you get anti-aired, it's immediate punish counter. What makes it useful is that it does hit relatively sooner than most jump buttons, although it's not like crazy significant. So let's say this hits around here. I'm not going to sit here and count these frames, but you know, I'm going to eyeball it and say, let's see, 31 plus 5, 30, like the 36th-ish frame, right? Maybe 37th. And that hit about, if you see where my cursor is, actually you can't see where my cursor is because my face is in the way. So this is, again, jump heavy punch at like the earliest. The yellow bar is when they started blocking. And if I do jump knee shot, at least if they're standing, it hits about 3 or 4 frames sooner, which can mean a lot in the end. But because it's a light, it's way less plus. So you don't have like any super crazy plus frames to work with, although it's still very usable. And it's also less plus on hit. If they're standing, they're only plus 6. If they're crouching, they'll be plus 5 or plus 7. Or plus 8. Let me check. I always forget this. Plus 9, actually. There you go. Against tall characters, it's worth keeping in mind that you'll be plus 5 if they're standing, because it just hits so early. Characters like Marissa or JP or Geef. So you'll get worse conversions off those characters. But, yeah, it's annoying to deal with, although it can be very risky. One, because, you know, like I said, you get punish counter if you get anti-aired, which means you instantly take drive gauge damage. And drive gauge in general is very important for DJ. And as well as having like a pretty weak hurt box. Like it's just not, it just doesn't go very far. And it's very often that happens where like your opponent was walking around or something and they just go straight under it. And now you find yourself in a bad position. So I would definitely tell you to be careful of doing this at the wall. Unless you're in one of the positions where you're using one of DJ's many safe jump setups. But yeah, that does it for his jump buttons. And now let's talk about some of his specialties as a character. Some of them we've already talked about before. One is his drive rush. Being as fast as it is in terms of how much space it covers in a short amount of time. And how useful it is in terms of like creating situations where he can, you know, make somebody hold a mix-up. Using Meaty and Sobot as a poke, a knockdown poke in neutral, also very unique to him. As well as knee shot. He doesn't have a special cancelable low, but his crouching medium kick, you know, is always a knockdown. And if you whiff punish somebody with it, and, or it's punish counter, I should say, they can't back tech, right? But if you know, normal hit, they can back tech. Other specialties, his fireball game is a little weird. So he's the only character who can, I mean, not the only character in that kind of sense, but he's one of the few characters who has easy access without meter and without like having to charge the fireball itself, like Guile with like Sonic Blade and the Sonic Boom, or Akuma with holding down a fireball, or Ryu having to use Denjin charge in the fireball. One of the few characters who has very quick access to a double fireball without spending meter, right? And this is both a blessing and a curse, because while it's a double fireball and can win a lot of fireball wars outright, if you look at the 60 total frames here, this move's mad slow and has a 17 frame startup. And DJ's fireball game, while present and sometimes useful, is very slow and awkward. I would recommend using Heavy Slash almost exclusively as like a safe special cancel off of a normal. Or if you want to like, you know, do drive gauge damage, it can be pretty nice. But in terms of neutral, unless you're like this close, right? And you want to risk like setting that tone just for like that simple poke, I would recommend you stick to using Heavy Slash from farther away, right? Just because you don't risk getting jumped in on die. Otherwise, I would resort to medium slash. The way the fireball game works out for DJ, and I'll talk about this again in another video, around DJ's fireball game in general, at least the way I see it. You want to stick to medium slash, less as a way of like poking in a fireball game, but just as a way of like stalling things out or slowing things down, right? Because DJ doesn't have a slow fireball, he can't really set up fireball traps unless you can make them block up heavy slash first into medium slash. So what you kind of end up doing, or that I find is consistently helpful without putting yourself at significant risk, is just reacting to your opponent's fireballs with your own and just canceling theirs out. Because as long as they don't have it and you don't have it, you're on an even playing field. And most people find that annoying enough to start doing something silly like jumping or whatever. And the bonus to DJ medium slash is that it actually recovers quite fast for a fireball. 44 total frames compared to like Ryu's 47 on his heavy, and it should be 47 for all of them except for his OD one, right? Yeah. So there you go. Which means, in translation, if you are really clean with this, or even do something like it's not a charge partition, but like a trick with charging where you press forward and then hold down back and press the button, right? So you start charging immediately. You can recover in time a lot, or very often, to get a heavy kick anti-air in a lot of cases. Unless they like jump way before you shoot a fireball. But if they're reacting to a fireball, like if you do this, you're definitely going to recover in time to do a heavy up kick. Which is what we're looking for, right? Like, just to get your own little opening going. Which is also nice because heavy up kicks consistently leaves you at like plus 40 something-ish. Which always guarantees like a double dash into something. You won't always be close enough to do a throw, but you'll be close enough to do something, or at least threaten something. That's his fireball. This is actually becoming a much longer video than I expected. Fucking hell. Another specialty of his is sway low, right? Unlike me in life, it goes far. So he's one of the few characters who has like a cancelable backdash, quote unquote. You can't cancel this into blocking, unfortunately, but you can cancel this into a whiff punishing, combo extending-ish button that goes pretty far. And you're always going to be plus 6. No more, no less. Unpunished counter, that is. But you won't always be in range to convert, right? Ideally, you want crouching medium punch here, right? So one thing you can do is if you get the sway low and you're out of range, right, to convert with a normal, but you notice that they're standing, that'll hit every time. So it pays to always be charging. But yeah, sway is super useful. It can make certain special cancelable normals like less, you know, challengeable per se, right? Because all these buttons, you know, he can special cancel sway. But because of recent patches, it's a much better idea for a lot of people to just straight up DI counter to sway. So instead of just doing this into sway like low in general, because if they block this, you end up being -3 and very close. So your turn is effectively over. Not the same as like poking with this from range. What you can do instead is try your best to just react, right? Because both DI and jumps, like forward jumps, kind of blow up sway a lot. Although recently they gave sway heavy kick better anti-air properties in general, as well as being, you know, you can convert. Let me turn off punish counter as well so you don't go flying. So you can do stuff like that. But notice the startup frames. Mine, like, this is not even including the sway frames themselves. 15 frame startup. That's a slow move. That's slower than slide. So keep that in mind. Sway is good, but use it sparingly. The last thing is that his OD Fireball is special in a number of ways. One being that if it connects, it's always like possible to convert somehow into a combo, right? And that's the basic conversion of it, right? The basic conversion is just drive rush heavy punch into heavy machine gun upper. There's two other special things about this fireball. One is that up close, you can link on hit, and this is normally a thing at the wall, right? For those kind of combo routes. As well as being plus on block up close. Yeah, and this is, again, better at the wall because it nullifies the pushback and leaves you +2 in their face. Strike throw. Now, there's one extra thing, which is the fireball can sometimes have 3 active frames, or like 3 hits in it rather than 2. So if Oki does, what is her fireball? There we go. If Oki does her OD Fireball, it has 2 hits. So if we both do OD Fireball here, it cancels out. So that can happen because the initial slash part of it, where he swings the first fist, that counts as its own projectile, right? So there's a special moment where instead of having a single active frame or single hit projectile for the first part, or a double projectile for the second part, there's a moment of overlap where there's 3 projectile properties on the screen at once, right? The initial slash, and then the little destructo discus as well. So sometimes, when the moon, the stars align, you can get that to come out, which can trick a lot of people, because a lot of people in this game will do something like that. And if you're ready, or if you're lucky, you can do stuff like that. So, worth keeping in mind. And yeah, that just about does it for basic specialties and character-specific stuff. Last thing I'll note is his level 1 is not invincible in any sort of way. Mostly a damage tool, what up, Jose? And sometimes a block punish. And this is also why drive gauge is so important for DJ, because if you're burned out during the first round and you don't have level 2 yet, you're gonna get stunned. You're definitely gonna get stunned. So be careful of that. And even on that note, you do have level 2, which is straight up invincible. And also decent as a counter fireball tool because it goes so far. It's 12 frame startup, so sometimes certain meaties can recover in time to block it. And you know, you're also risking your life, so keep that in mind. Oh, and his level 3 is pretty good at anti-airing because that little punch goes pretty high up. Yeah, so if you have someone who like jumps in on you and you happen to be ready, you can hit them even at the apex of their jump. Now, some simple conversions and stuff. If you just want to combos and conversions that will work for DJ, just do medium sobot. Just do medium sobot or heavy sobot. They'll almost always work, and it will not depend on whether or not your opponent is standing. Ideally, you want to get to the point where you can confirm whether or not your opponent is standing or crouching, because heavy up kicks has a lot of wall carry. Right? As well as, like, you know, Oki tied into it as well. But, you know, if you're just starting out, like, medium sobot, heavy sobot will be more than plenty. As well as giving you Oki and pressure in general, right? Medium sobot will work off of literally anything. Stand jab, crouch jab, stand light kick, crouch medium kick, punch, you know, all the heavies, right? So that's pretty straightforward. Heavy sobot will work off of everything but your jabs. Yeah? Which is why, you know, if you don't know what to do, or like you're in a panic mode and you just want to, you just need something that'll work consistently, just do heavy sobot. Just do heavy sobot. It's the most simple and easy conversions that you have. For your light conversions, you kind of almost always want to end with crouch jab, just because it goes way farther than his standing jab, right? So normally when you're like around in this range and you're doing like a light conversion, is usually what you want to go for. Or double crouch jab. You can also do crouching light kick, crouching light punch. But if you try to do something like crouching light kick into standing light punch, it gonna whiff. So that's why you almost always want to end there. And again, if you can confirm whether or not they're standing, you can do that, which is great. Super crazy wall carry, this character sometimes. Some decent, you know, 2-bar cash outs. The most straightforward one is just OD sway, heavy kick, heavy sobot. Again, this is just like, if you don't want to think, that's decent enough, right? And almost always works. You know? So, he has some wall conversions as well that are worth remembering. And it's simply, if you get either crouching heavy punch or crouching medium punch, you can convert into medium up kicks and heavy up kicks. The classic hey, 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 hey. The double fat Albert. But generally speaking, if you're new and you just want to hit people, this is fine, you know? This is fine. That's fine. Cool. Now, simple Oki and meaties in general, the kind of Oki that you want to keep in mind and specifically is the situation after throw, the situation after sobot, the situation after heavy up kicks, and the situation after heavy sobot. These are the situations that you'll get the most often with this character. Thankfully, medium sobot and forward throw that is, are both the same. They're both plus 34, which makes, you know, DJ's corner game crazy good. He has a lot of options and a lot of like great scenarios there. So if you're out in the neutral though, and you get forward throw, you don't really have much to do here without making some kind of read, because, you know, there's just so much pushback. The basic thing to do is to forward dash and a drive rush. And if you press medium punch, it'll be +6, but again, out of range for anything specific, and you don't have like a drive rush low to threaten them. You can hit confirm into some stuff from there, but you know, explore that at your own pace, and maybe that could be like a potential different video or whatever. You can also do drive rush, crouch, and heavy punch, although I believe it has a tiny gap there. No, so it'll still beat 4 frames. Now the sweaty thing is to perfectly time your drive rush jab here. But again, if you're simple, trying to keep it simple, not something I would encourage someone new to DJ to do. The basic thing is drive rush, medium punch. You can walk into a throw, or just do that enough times where they stop swinging and then just throw it out. Cool. Special shout out to drive rush forward medium kick. You have to manually time that, and it is somewhat reactable at higher levels, so not a great habit to get into. But you end up being +5 and like a little closer than drive rush medium punch. Medium Sobot in the neutral is better because they're much closer on knockdown. You don't even need to forward dash to drive rush in, which is very helpful because against some characters or in some spacings, drive rush or dash drive rush is kind of fake. A lot of characters, if they either don't back tech or have a far enough reaching OD reversal like DJ or Guile, they can just OD reversal every time you go green on reaction. But if you do forward, or if you do a medium Sobot here, you can just raw drive rush in and be close enough for a strike throw, right? All kinds of stuff. You can even just like walk back or do like a little tick, you know, backdash, all these kinds of things. So in terms of Oki, both in neutral, or mostly in neutral, even though these are both the same frames, +34, you're really looking for medium Sobot. Going on to heavy up kicks, you're always going to be +42 grounded, and that just means double dash. +4, very easy strike throw mix up. Although you're not close enough, or you're actually too close to do a walk shimmy. So if you do want to shimmy someone who's trying to delay tech or something, you're gonna have to backdash or neutral jump or sway sometimes. But still very, very good. And also good for setting up use of his light target combo. Both this and this are great for setting up your light target combo just because you're close enough, and sometimes in a range where you're not close enough to do like a double light confirm. There's some ranges where you won't be close enough for that, like this, which can get you killed. So what you do instead is you do the light conversion, because that will always go far enough for the most part. And it's also hit confirmable. And if you pull it off, you're +3 in their face, and also within walk shimmy range, right? So you can just do this if they delay tech, or you can just straight up throw, right? Heavy Sobot is similar, although a little less +2 instead of +3, but you're still in throw range, and you're also in range to walk shimmy, right? So if you do something like medium punch, this is another basic conversion that we'll get to next. Just medium punch, light kick, heavy Sobot. Very good, very useful. In range for throw, or double light conversion, right? And this is actually nice because you're always close enough to do the crouching light kick and the crouching light punch. You do have crouching heavy punch as a conversion that I mentioned earlier. And this just always goes into heavy up kicks. And this is one of those ranges where you're too far for the double. So that's when that's good. And back heavy kick is very great for hit confirming. You just have such a long time to know whether or not they're doing something. Yeah, and you can either do that, or if you want to be sweaty, you can do something like this, right? Like if they block, or if they get hit, you know, OD reverse or OD sway. If they block, heavy slash or medium slash, you know, the world is your oyster for that. But yeah, very great hit confirm tool when you're up close. That is pretty much it. If you're at the wall, DJ's combo game expands greatly. And the simplest thing to do is just to do OD sway heavy kick, medium sobot into heavy up kicks. This is kind of, you know, this is reaching a bit in terms of complexity because you do have to time this. If you either delay the medium sobot or delay the heavy kick portion of the OD sway, I prefer just delaying the medium sobot to get back to work. But again, if you want to keep it simple, this works. Absolutely fine. Now, I'm pretty sure that does it, except for one last thing that we'll go over, which is just meaties and stuff at the wall. Again, forward throw and medium sobot are the same. So if you want a really great like meaty throw setup, dash, whiff, jab, automatically +3. And you can go a couple ways from this. You can go straight into medium punch for plus frames. If you think they're going to do a delay option, you can do like jab into crouching heavy punch or jab and back heavy kick. This does take some getting used to do, but it's very useful to do. And if you want to walk shimmy, you can literally just walk back and duck. Super dope. Alternatively, you could just walk forward and throw, like you're plus enough to do this. You know, it just requires a little more manual timing, but it is somewhat scarier because it's less, you know, telegraphed. And you can also do light sobot, because that gets you just outside of throw range by itself. And if you walk forward a little bit, you can still get throw. Quite nice, quite nice. And yeah, that's some basic meaty and Oki situations for a DJ. And you'll get forward throw a lot at the wall. And again, you can do the same thing here, right? Because they're both +34. Yeah. And if you need, if you happen to get heavy up kicks somewhere around the wall, at the wall, you know, nearby the wall, and they end at the wall, this is always a safe jump. You're +42, just hold up forward, press a button as you come down, and you got that shit. Alternatively, if you get the double fat Albert, you're +36 or +37, which also nets you a safe jump by doing immediate up forward into down light kick, right? So if you, let's say you get a throw situation going on here, and you get something like this, safe jump. Same thing. Hey, your opponent's gonna be super tired of hearing this by the end. But yeah, that just about does it. So to wrap up, Just summary style, cliff notes, anti-airs, heavy up kick, back heavy kick, slide, jump target combo with medium punch, heavy punch. You're a charge character, so just make sure you be charging. And we'll go over like tips and tricks for that in a different video. Best pokes, medium kick, crouching medium kick, heavy kick, medium sobot, crouching heavy punch, occasionally light kick, jump buttons, jump medium kick for your longest range and also your cross up button, jump heavy punch and jump heavy kick for your big old heavies, as well as hitting like pretty far below you as quickly as possible. And you have knee shot. This takes some getting used to use properly. Pressure / poke tool, forward medium kick. Very weird tool, but play around with it. But pressure tools, drive rush jab, drive rush crouch jab, drive rush medium punch, and from farther out, drive rush medium kick, drive rush crouching medium kick. And as a specialty thing, DJ has sways. It's always something to test. See how your opponent reacts to it. See if you can get them pressing in situations that they don't want to. And again, we'll go through more depth and more detail in other videos when we look at individual tools. Consistent conversions. If you want to keep it simple, medium sobot, heavy sobot, that's all you need. Medium sobot works off of everything. Heavy sobot works off of everything except your jabs. And your basic light conversion is just standing jab, crouching jab into whatever. Or double crouching jab. And medium punch into light kick. Basic conversion, you're going to get that a lot, as well as just straight up crouching heavy punch from a distance. Sometimes you'll be close enough to get crouching medium punch, but more often than not you won't be, unless it's like a wake up situation. So if you don't know, go straight for heavy up kicks. And Oki situations, throw in the neutral and medium sobot are similar. They have the same amount of frames, but you're always closer off of medium sobot, so you can just raw drive rush there. Off a forward throw, you're gonna have to either dash into something and make them chill out before you can start throwing again, or you can raw drive rush, time a medium kick, and then do some other stuff. Simple Oki and meaty stuff. Forward throw out the wall and medium sobot out the wall are both the same. Forward dash jab, instant meaty throw. And if you want to continue plus frames, you can dash and then just time a medium punch. And if this hits, you can do light kick into anything. Or you can do just crouching heavy punch. And for the easiest hit confirm, you can literally just do back heavy kick. And that pretty much does it. So DJ has a lot of, every character has a lot of situations, a lot of meaties, a lot of Oki situations, a lot of frame kills, a lot of anything and everything. So this is, again, just a simple setup. And should be enough to get most people started. Yeah. Oh yeah, and if you get heavy up kicks at the wall, just hold up forward for a safe jump. Or if you get the double fat Albert, instant knee shot. Cool. So, good luck. Oh, and if you have any questions, I stream on Twitch, blah, 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 and we'll make some more in-depth videos next time. So, GG's, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Cut. All right, Jesus, that took so fucking